welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Meg, and today we're going to be talking about something that is much bigger than makeup. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Here it is normally a beauty channel. I like to do a lot of makeup education tutorials, and I also do some lifestyle videos and some fun chit chat get ready with me. So if that is something that interests you, stick around, check out the other videos on my channel. But today we're going to be talking about something a little more serious because it's something that I'm really passionate about. I think that it's a positive message, and I want to get it out there to anyone that is feeling a little bit stuck or hopeless right now with everything that is happening in the world, and especially within the United States. This has been a tough year for everyone. I don't really need to get into it other than saying make sure that you are wearing your mask. So you know, be a decent human, wear your mask, you're protecting yourself, you're protecting others. It's a win-win. I've been strictly quarantining since March. It's just, I feel like it's really starting to get to me. It's getting to a lot of people. That is all I'm going to say because I want this to be a positive video, not a ranting video about COVID. So I've been talking with my friends, and with recent events in the United States with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and also with what has been going on with the Breonna Taylor case, just talking with my friends, there's just a common theme of dread and hopelessness. We have the election coming up in a couple of weeks, and I just feel like a lot of people are really struggling to have a positive outlook on things. And don't get me wrong, the next couple of weeks and months are going to be hard and uncomfortable, to say the very least. But we must power through to get to the bigger picture. And what I want to cover in today's video is things that we can actually do, because I don't know about you guys watching, but you know, you kind of sit there and go, well, what can I actually do to make a difference? Where can I start other than just reposting things on social media? So that is what I'm going to cover in this video, and just hopefully give you guys some encouragement and positivity about the future. I have my notes in front of me. I made a similar post on Facebook because I feel like that's where I really needed to make the post. So if I'm looking down, that is what I'm looking at. I try to keep my social media platforms a more positive and uplifting space as a distraction from everything going on. So that's why I don't really cover a lot in my YouTube videos. Let's talk about the election, the future of our country, what we can actually be doing to help. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is, if you are over the age of 18, are you registered to vote? Are you sure you're registered to vote? Is your information updated and correct? What I want you to do right now is to pause the video and check your status. I will have a link listed down below and also displayed across the screen where you can check your status. And I recommend that you check your status now, and that you continue to check your status every week leading up to the election, because I feel like we can't trust anything. And I've seen some other politicians say we should be checking our status to make sure things don't suddenly go awry right before election day. So please make sure that your information is correct. And if you are not registered to vote, there is still time. I cannot encourage you enough to register and to actually vote in this election. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit more about people feeling uncertain or not motivated for voting, because trust me, I get it. So first things first, go to vote.org/am I registered to vote. Check your status. All right, so now that you are back from checking your status to make sure it's active, let's go ahead and actually talk about the election for a brief moment. I know that there are a lot of people who aren't jazzed about either candidate, and I get it. There are people that don't want to vote for Biden, and I totally relate. He's not my pick either. I wanted somebody else. I was a Bernie girl, okay? That's where I was at. So I'm not, you know, thrilled and over the moon that Biden is our choice, but I hope that what I'm gonna say in this video will change your mind on whether or not you want to vote for him. Before I get into that, I just really want to stress how important this presidential election is to our country, and not just the presidential election. There are a lot of people up for Senate and other important seats that we should also be looking into. But this is not to sound, you know, it sounds like an exaggeration. This is the most important election in US history, but It really is. We are on such a turning point in time where we're either gonna go this way and be stuck here for a long time, or we're gonna go this way and be stuck here for a long time. So it's really not an understatement to say that this is probably the most important election in our nation's history. So I just really want to stress that. And I also want to take a second to talk about polling and polls for a minute. Now, I know that we're seeing a lot with the polls, like Biden's ahead in this state, but Trump's ahead in this state, and this one is ahead overall versus this one is this far behind. I just want to remind you that these polls are predicted of likely voters. And you want to know who the likely voters are? People over the age of 60. Those of us who are between the ages of 18 and 40 are not considered in these predicted polls because why? We have a history of not showing up to vote. So they're not going to consider us in these polls. So don't let the polls discourage you, but also let's get them to consider us by actually showing up to vote this time. If all of us millennials and Gen Zers show up for this election, we can match voters over the age of 60. So all those boomers that have been running the country for the last X amount of years, we can match their votes and we can actually have our say in who our elected officials are. That actually showing up to vote can make this election, can make or break any future election. And we shouldn't be concerned about presidential elections every 4 years. We really need to start at the bottom and work our way up, because at the top of the pyramid is the president, but you really need to focus on your local elections, mayor, governor, your representatives. Even when it comes down to like your superintendent for the school district that you're in, everything matters because it all filters its way up to the top. So if you're not happy with who is currently in Senate seats or in higher power seats, we need to start working from the bottom and get our way up to the top. So I can't stress that enough. I'm going to move on to the next thing because I will just sit here and talk about that forever. Another thing that I want to talk about is the day that RBG passed away. I feel like that was a complete feeling of dread and hopelessness for women across the entire nation. I feel like it was a heavier sense of loss for anyone who's a minority. Basically, if you're not a rich, white, straight man, I feel like you felt the effects of her death and how unfortunate we were depending on her to make it through the election. It's just so messed up to me that somebody passed away who was a trailblazer and a role model and somebody that a lot of people looked up to, and we can't properly mourn her death because we're afraid of what this means for our future. That's so not normal, and it's okay to process it that way. And it's just so sad and terrible to me that her dying wish pertained to the future of our country. Most people, when they're on their deathbed, aren't worried about what our country is going to turn into in the next month. You know, it's so incredibly sad to me that that is literally what her dying wish was days before she passed away. That's what was a burden on her mind. It's just terrible that that's what a worry for her was. Yet, unfortunately, here we are. Later that night, AOC went live on Instagram, and a lot of the stuff that I'm pulling for the rest of this video is information that I got from her live. I will have it linked down below for you. It's super encouraging. It's like a 40-minute video. It really lit a fire under my ass, and it really inspired me. So if you need some more encouragement and inspiration after watching this, I highly suggest you take the time to watch her live. I think that she did an amazing job. So let's go ahead and kind of backtrack to the Biden thing, because I know a lot of people are not jazzed about him. As I've said earlier, I know that there are a lot of people that say that they want to sit this election out, that they don't want to give him a vote because they don't agree with all of his politics, which again, I understand and I respect that thought process. But I feel like we have been living the last 4 years, we've been living through the consequences of sitting out in an election, because that's what happened last time. People didn't show up to vote for Hillary. Like, even though she had more votes than Trump did, not enough people showed up to vote for her to allow her to win. I mean, I think 4 years ago, none of us really seriously thought that somebody like Donald Trump would actually win the election. But here we are, and I don't want to live another 4 years of those consequences again. So I'm hoping the way that I'm going to phrase this will help you change your mind and help encourage you to get more excited about voting for Biden. I would also just like to touch and say that there are plenty of people in power on both sides that need the boot. Okay, it's not just like, oh, well, they're a Democrat, so they're good, or they're Republican, so they're bad. Like, there are not great people on both sides of it that need to go. So I just want to make that very clear. But we can't get those people out and get those who excite us in if we don't do this together and we don't show up to vote. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, no one politician is the answer. We are the answer. No one on the left is perfect, and these elections and politics can really highlight the brokenness of our entire system, which, you know, ties into that overall feeling of dread. But we shouldn't be thinking of this as a vote for Biden. You should be thinking this as a vote for yourself, a vote for your family, a vote for your friends, a vote for your neighbors. It's like, it's not just Biden, it's so much bigger than that. A vote for Biden is a vote for immigrants. It's a vote for the LGBT plus community. It's a vote for women's rights. So instead of thinking, oh man, I'm voting for Biden, no, you're voting for everyone in your community who is a minority, who needs your support, because our rights are just about to get stripped away from us. That is how I want you to change your mindset of, oh, I'm voting for Biden. No, you're voting to help people whose rights are going to be taken away from them. And I really hope that that helps get you in a different mindset and motivates you to actually vote in this election. Now that I covered voting, I want to speak more on things that we can actually do. So if you've been sitting here this whole time saying like, okay girl, I got it, like I am voting, like good, thank you so much for that. So let's go ahead and talk about what can we actually do besides just going out and voting. So my response to that, and what AOC said, her response is, well, what can you give? Because it can be really overwhelming trying to figure out where to dip your toes in or how to get started in doing something. So you really need to sit down and think about what are your strengths and how can you utilize that to help. So what are you able to give? What areas do you shine? And that is what should lead you to your point of activism. How can you utilize your strength to benefit others? Where would your actions be most impactful? So let's take about it this way. Are you an artist? How can you use your art to reach others? Art is something that is so impactful, and I think that art is so important right now, and AOC touched on that, and as an artist, I couldn't agree more. But how can you use your art to get people thinking, to get people talking, to open up a dialogue? Do you like to post on social media? You know, really putting yourself out there and talking about your beliefs in a positive way, in an encouraging way, is a great thing to do. Do you want to get more involved in activism? Do you have people that you can talk to about upcoming issues with? Because word of mouth and opening up that conversation is very, very, very important, especially for those who are undecided or not wanting to vote. Are you able to give your time or money? And simply coming down to, are you registered to vote and do you plan on voting? So those are all things to think about, and you can start asking yourself these questions and figure out how you can move forward. So one thing that you can do is use your voice. Make a list of 5 people who are currently undecided, not voting, or you think is voting for the wrong person, and talk to them about it. If you think about people who you can be the voice of reason for, if you have a family member who will actually listen to you. So for example, I know for me, when they made gay marriage legal in the United States, I had a grandparent who was not happy about it, but I was able to sit down and talk to her and explain it to her and what it really means and how it works and how it's not this bad thing and how people who are part of that community aren't bad people, because that was ingrained in her head from generations of that messaging, you know, this is wrong, you don't do this, you know, a whole religious thing tied into it. I was able to sit down and talk to her, and now she's very supportive of that community. So if there's somebody in your life that you're able to get through to them and talk to them about issues and have them listen to you, call those people up and have those conversations with them. Don't wait to do this. So when you're watching this video, if this is something you think you can do, make that list of people as soon as you're finished watching this video and plan out your time when you're going to call and have these conversations. Get it done within a week's time, and once you get through those people, make a list of more people and keep cycling through until November 3rd. We need to keep this up until then. And when you're talking with them, ask them if they have a voting plan, and if they don't, help them figure out a plan to vote. Say, do you have transportation? Are you going to do a mail-in ballot? If they're not registered to vote, talk them through registering to vote. Say, let me help you. Or if you have somebody who's elderly that you're talking to, register them yourself and help them through that process. Are you able to help transport people on election day? You know, or would you be able to pay for somebody to take an Uber to make sure that they get to the polls? Have a voting plan in place with the people that you are talking to who are undecided voters or that were set on not voting. I think that that is so important, and it can make such a difference. That is also something that you can possibly look at, volunteering your time on election day. If you have a lot of people in your neighborhood who are elderly or who don't have their own transportation, go around and ask and say, hey, do you need a ride to the polls on election day? I'm able to help you. Or, hey, I can pay for an Uber to take you so you're able to vote. You can also, you know, that's a way of advocating as well. So the next thing is to organize. Research organizations and local grassroots movements and find a way to get involved. This is something that I really want to work on because the more, like, it can be really intimidating, but AOC said in her video, the more you start to show up, the more you'll get recognized, and the more the people who have been involved for a while are likely to take you on. So that is a great way to get started. I know that you can probably do a quick and easy Google search or look on Instagram and find a movement that really speaks to you and start there. See how you can get involved. The last thing is to educate, because there is so much false information circling around on both sides. It's not just one end, it's both ends. There is just so much complete misinformation and incorrect information out there. So if you see somebody that posted something that is totally false, use your voice and correct them and say, hey, this is actually not correct. Here is a source letting you know that this information is not correct. Will you please consider deleting your post or saying that you're like updating the status to say that this is not actual information. So that is an important thing that you can do to stand up and use your voice. If you're somebody like me and you like to post a lot on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, you can fact check. Make sure that you are actually checking that the information you're posting is factual. It's so easy to just hit the retweet, to share to your IG story or repost on Facebook. But what I like to do, if I see something that's a very bold statement, I will research to make sure that it is correct information before I post it, so I am not contributing to the spread of misinformation. So that is something that is really important too. Make sure that everything is coming from a legit resource. Don't be afraid to tell others that their information is incorrect. And I will have linked below an Instagram account that I recently found that I like a lot, so you want to talk about. They talk about a lot of trending issues that are happening in the United States, also in the world, and they provide cited resources. The last thing that I want to say is let this radicalize you. Let this put you in stark focus. We need to take that fear and turn it into fuel and figure out where we can best help right now, and we need to give this our all and need to keep it going until election day, and we need to continue the same energy after election day for future elections. We have to fight for our democracy. We have to fight for our freedom. We have to fight for our justice. Our ancestors persisted, and now we have to also. We must put the work in now to allow those after us to thrive. This is our present moment. Remember, we must turn fear into fuel. So what is your fear telling you? Is it telling you to take a step? Is it telling you to jump? Is it telling you to frickin' leap into action? And something that AOC said that really stuck to me is that the most courageous acts are the most terrifying, because in that moment you're scared standing up for yourself or standing up for others. But after you do it, it's seen as such a courageous and brave thing to do. So don't let your fear intimidate you, let it fuel you. How many times am I going to say it? I can't stop. So just a reminder, this isn't just over in November, it's going to last a lifetime. We got this, we can do this. If we all pull together and give it our all, I know we can pass through this. This moment shall pass. Another thing that I've really been enjoying is astrology and just reading about patterns of the planets. That helps ground me in all of this. So I will link an astrologer that I really like down below, and I'll probably talk about some of the things she's been predicting through the planet movements in a different video. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. But leave me a comment. What action are you going to be taking next? Like I said, I want to get involved in more local organizations while continuing to spread information on social media. I know that this is quite a different video than what I normally post on my channel. I hope that this left you feeling a little bit more hopeful than when you came to this video. But yeah, also leave a comment of encouragement and positivity down below, because we don't have enough of that. You can never have enough of that. But thank you so much for listening to me and taking the time out of your day to watch this. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.